Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by. It's no secret I play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I want to be the next king of games. A goal I set for myself was to win locals with Dark Magician. That's a goal I'm still chasing. Join me on my journey as I take the ultimate wizard in terms of attack and defense and put us both through the test against the strongest opponents I can find. This is Top Deck Tactics. The closest I've gotten to winning locals was a third place finish with blind second Turbo Dragoon during the crossover breakers format when Ryziel and Malice were running wild. On my channel, I've showcased a variety of approaches to Dark Magician as I've played locally, at regionals, and even a YCS. Some being pure Dark Magician, Shining Sarcophagus variants, and even a Turbo Magia build. Of all the variations I've tried, I've gelled the strongest with Shining Sarcophagus, mostly because of the anime nostalgia, but also how seamlessly it bridges into the upcoming cards like Dark Magician of Destruction. The deck on its own is fairly decent, but with the addition of D-Mod and the Gaze of Timaeus, the avenues for exploration truly seem endless. Cards like Dark Magician Girl and the Magician's Apprentice are exactly what the deck needed, and the lines that are unlocked just because of a single special summon are what will take this Table 500 archetype to the top of a YCS. But let us not get ahead of ourselves. First, I still need to win locals. I had the privilege of having a supportive locals group who not only allows me to play the new support pre-release, but they constantly challenge themselves and me by playing new meta decks with their own respective variations and constant curveball decks to keep me on my toes. From Goblin Bikers, Umi Stun, Toads, and Mitsu, all of which have won locals. But now I think it's time Dark Magician puts one on the scoreboard. So let's jump into today's locals and see what everyone is playing. Bringing a new version of Shining Sarcophagus tonight, we went 1-3 against some incredible duelists and their builds. And then, having my first double loss experience since the new time change rules have been implemented. I managed to get 10th place out of 14 duelists, and these were the matchups. Round 1, I played Regenesis Voiceless Voice and played all 3 games, going 1-2. My opponent won the die roll and managed to set up a pretty good board, and there was no way for me to break it, so we just went to game 2. In game 2, I was able to set up a good board with number 97, Hope Harbinger, and Gadget Trio. He bounced my Dragoon with Typhon, but I opened with Ghost Spell in hand and drew into an Ash Blossom next turn. I allowed him to use Lightning Storm in the back row, but negated his second one when he called monsters. Then we went to game 3. He elected to go first, set up a great board because I opened with no hand traps, and he had all the outs on my turn, ending my first round 1-2. Rounds 2 through 4 I had some camera difficulties, so I am not able to show the footage. But for context, we 2-0'd the Lightsworn tier player. Gandora was the MVP of this duel, and I got all the way down to 250 life points, I believe. It was an incredible duel. I then went on to get 2-0'd by Mitsurugi Libromancer, and then for the 4th and final round, I played Runic K9. I won the first round, and we went into time for the second round, giving me my first double loss since the time rule change. All in all, it was a great experience. I had a lot of fun. It's the first time I've stayed for a while for the entire locals, and I learned a lot. Going forward, I'll use this for my building block on how to approach the next version of this build. I believe it is a great stepping stone for what can be a good starting point for Dark Magician and asserting this archetype into the top of a YCS. Here is the deck profile. Alright guys, here's the deck profile from locals last night. We'll jump into the main deck. Today I actually do have a side deck, which I was able to utilize last night. It's a part of deck building that I've really been needing to practice, so I'm glad I did. But to start in the main, we have 2 copies of Dark Magician, 3 of Dark Magician Girl, 2 of Gandora, 3 Gadget Trio, and 1 Silent Magician. That is it for the monsters for Shining Sarcophagus. The biggest flaw, or if you will, hardest part of this deck is the discard for Dark Magician Girl. The workaround that was the toy box engine, but since we're not playing that anymore, there's still the cost to discard to summon it to get the effect. So working on dealing with that is a challenging part for now. Onto the spells, we have 3 copies of a Shining Sarcophagus, 3 copies of Future Silence. Utilizing this in the battle phase and drawing is something I'm not worried about anymore. For a while it was, but if you can get to that point, or just have a extender for a starter, it's really great. 2 copies of Turn Silence, and that is it for the Shining Sarc package. We'll jump into the small Dark Magician support. So we have 1 copy of Magician Souls, 1 copy of Rod, 1 copy of Illusion of Chaos, and 1 Secrets and 1 Gaze. 1 Gaze, I think I might bump up to 2. Not having a second one and being able to go into a D-mod line or a Rod line just felt like there wasn't enough, and it's kind of what I needed to push into a board. So keeping this at 1, I'm not sure if it should stay at 1. I'm going to try it with 2 and maybe 1 Secrets, or just 2 Gaze and cut Secrets. But I felt last night I really needed another copy of Gaze. So on to the rest of the deck, which is hand traps. So we had 1 copy of Dimension Shifter. I never saw it. 3 copies of Imperm. 3 copies of Ash. 2 copies of Ghost Spell. I need a 3rd. This card was incredible, actually. It really helped a lot. 3 copies of Fuwalis. The 1 called by. 1 Dark Ruler No More, which obviously can get taken out. 1 Magnamut and 1 Druis Worm. Magnamut searching as either Druis Worm or Gandora. That was it for the main deck. We'll jump into the side deck now. For the side, we played 3 copies of Retaliating Sea. This is what I was planning on to use against any Draco Tail players. Didn't play Draco Tail last night, but this card did help. Great card. If you're not playing it, possibly consider it. 3 copies of Droll. 3 copies of Spell Card Monster Reborn. 3 copies of Nibiru. And 3 copies of Spellbound. For me, Spellbound is the kind of like Retaliating Sea. It's a workaround for Dimensional Barrier being banned. So it really helps, I think, if you can set it up properly. And then into the extra deck for you guys, we have 2 copies of Dragoon, 2 copies of Dark Magician of Destruction, the number 97 and number 100 for the Xyz lines with 2 Hope Harbingers. Onto the links, we have 1 SP, 1 Selene, 1 Closed World, 1 Blackluster Soldier, 1 Topologic Bomber, and 1 IP. That is it for the deck profile, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the video. If you have any suggestions, please leave them down in the comments below. I read all of them. I look forward to improving this build with all of you guys. And as always, thank you for your support. Peace.